So a near miss with my Air 2S. Coming right up. What's up, all you drone man X? Welcome back to Drone Logic for your drone tech related info from my point of view. So I bought an Air 2S to go along with my arsenal of equipment, and trying to start my drone business. And so far, I'm telling you, I've been loving that drone. I mean, DJI, they just put out great products. You can say what you want to say. The FAA, whoever, they can say what they want to say. Man, DJI just puts out some great equipment. Anyway, I was flying it one day, because it's good to get some stick time with your drones, to know your equipment, to know the difference between how one responds, how the other one different, and so you can know how to properly use it. So I put it up with about, I would say maybe 55% battery, and I was just flying around as I would do for enjoyment. And I flew off at a distance, and I basically lost connection with the drone. So like any other time when you lose connection with your drone, it's just going to go to return home, and it's going to come home. So within about maybe 7 seconds later, you will establish connection, and you can take control of your drone. But it didn't, and I was sitting there waiting, and this was the similar experience I had for when I lost my Phantom 4 Pro when I crashed it by initiating the automated shutdown procedure without knowing. So at this time, I started getting worried. So I started walking in the direction that I flew. And as I did this, I established connection with the drone. And it was actually in return to home. And it was attempting to try to get home. But unfortunately, the wind kept it back. And it was a very windy day. And the drone was fighting against the wind to try to get back, but it couldn't. So I reduced the height on it to lower the height, because the lower your altitude, generally the less wind resistance. And I did lower the height, and I started making my way back. But then I noticed that the battery power was like at 8% or something. Like, geez, it just dropped on me so fast, again because the drone was fighting against the wind. So I was attempting to try to get back, but on my way getting back, it basically went to automatic land mode. And I was, at this point in time, I was like, okay, panicking. So I saw an open field, and this is an open field that I drive by many times. I aimed for it and was trying to get to that open field, but then they got to the point where it wasn't going to make it. So this drone was landing. So I just basically, it just landed where it did. Now I went out to look for my drone, and I looked at the picture that was left. Generally when the drone disconnects, it'll be a gray picture, and you can see where it is. So judging based upon what I saw, that's where I went. And I walked up and down this particular street where I judged where it was. I went into someone's backyard. They didn't have a fence up, and I didn't see anything. The fence behind them, the house that was behind them, that was on the next street, the fence was basically falling down, so you can see into the backyard. I looked to the backyard, and there it was, just sitting in the grass. So I was able to get through and recover the drone. And so, like I said, that near miss was, well, I have my drone, and it's flying fine, but there was several key mistakes that I made, and it's good to learn from your mistakes. It is also even better to learn from other people's mistakes. So what are the mistakes I made here? Well, first of all, I put the drone up at 50% battery and flew off at a great distance, something that I shouldn't have done. You need to be aware of your battery power when you're flying your drone, and how much flight time you can before you start going distance. Now, the number two mistake that I made was I didn't account for the wind. You always have to be cognizant of the wind, the direction of the wind is blowing. When I flew out, I was flying with the wind, but coming back, the drone was going against the wind, and it couldn't make it. And that's why the battery power drained so quickly, because it was fighting against the wind to try to get back. Now, the number three mistake that I made here was when the drone was descending, I should have panned the camera down and then tried to find, instead of trying to get to that open spot that was kind of a distance off, I should have immediately panned the camera down, tilted the camera all the way down, and at that point found a secure spot to land. Make sure I'm not landing in a tree or anything, and preferably in a front yard. I didn't do that. The drone just went down where it went down. I should have done that, because I could have easily landed it in a front yard somewhere where I didn't have to go, on the sidewalk maybe, or in the grass where I didn't have to worry about going in someone's backyard. So that was the 3 mistakes that I made. Of course, these are mistakes that I definitely will not happen to me again. I would definitely avoid those mistakes. So if I'm ever in that situation, I would definitely, number one, make sure if I fly off a considerable distance, I'm going to fly off on a full battery. Number one. Number two, I'm definitely going to be aware of the wind, because the Air 2S being a smaller drone. If that was my Mavic 2 Pro, it would have cut through that wind and got back. Obviously it would probably have crept along at maybe 11 miles per hour, fighting through the wind, because I've put it up in winds like worse winds than that before, and it handled it pretty well. But the Air 2S, you got to know your drone, your equipment, and be cognizant of the wind. I would most certainly not put my Mini 2 up in those conditions. And number 3, if you gotta land, make sure you look down, pan down, and direct your drone into a safe area, an area that won't be over people, and in an area that won't be in people's backyards. So when you go out to retrieve your drone, it's in the front somewhere and you can easily find it. But these are the mistakes that I made, and I narrowly had a near miss with my Air 2S and lost my drone not too long after I got it. So like I say, be cognizant of this, and you don't want to lose your equipment, because that's, would have been $1,000 gone. And well, at least just the drone itself, and a battery. So like I say, just be cognizant of all these things. And when you fly, be safe out there, and always know your equipment, and be aware of the wind direction. And if you have to go down, make sure you put the drone in a safe place where it's not going to land in the trees, a pool in someone's backyard, or on people who may be around. Just make sure you try to land in a safe space where you can easily go recovery. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on this. Recover my drone, thankfully. And as always, y'all, until next time.